The crumble spell. You can create a doorway-sized hole through any wall and can collapse a section of floor beneath a fighter on the table. To the guy who thinks I should try and create this crumble spell for the tabletop, I hope you're kidding. Like, seriously. I really hope you're kidding. Hello folks, and welcome to Dice Chatter. My name is Donnie, and today we are going to attempt to create 3 more Frostgrave spells. Sorry Crumble, I made a few other spells in a previous video, and this time around we are crafting magical terrain such as Fog, Explosive Rune, and Animate Skull. These are perfect options to use as permanent terrain pieces on the tabletop. So get some wizards ready for casting, and let's start building some spells. Explosive Rune. In short, you create 3 small tokens that can be placed down on the table, on the ground, or even on a wall. So why not try and replicate a small piece of terrain that fits with some pieces I have already built? My recent ruins are a perfect example of how we can implement this thought into reality. First things first, I want to create simple and lightweight tokens. I cut out a 2-inch round circle on some cardstock, and this will be the foundation of our explosive runes. And from here, we can decide to go a number of different routes. Do we create a stone configuration with some foam bricks I have cut out on the Proxon? For those wondering, we use some sea bricks, and those dimensions should pop up on the screen now. Or we could even go a different route and assume an explosive rune may be placed on some wooden boards that are ruined and in shambles. The key is to make sure whatever you glue down onto the 2-inch circle you cut out is flush and lines up nicely. And once you get all of your circles together, we can hop on over to painting. Slapping on some paint for both the ruined stone and wood was covered more extensively in my ruins video, but I'm happy to quickly cover it here as well. First things first, prime the stones black, then zenithal them white, and put the wooden tokens to the side. We can get to those later. Then grab some brown paint, stippling and dry brushing them over each rune. Follow this up by picking out a few stones with a solid paint to give the ruins a bit more character. Of course, you can't forget a little bit of spackle, spreading that into the cracks and crevices of the stone and wiping away any excess. Let all of that dry and grime it up with some army painter washes, taking that bright white down a level or two. And then we finally come back with a dry brush of a cream color to bring out the edges and corners of the creation. For the wood, grab any weird colors you want. I went with teal and brown, slap it on it, poke it, dry brush it, do whatever you want, and then come in with wildwood contrast paint. You can also be a little unorthodox with this as well. Water it down a bit, wipe some off here and there, and make this wood look like a rotting mess. Then of course finish everything off with a dry brush color of your choice. Now we have our tokens built, but we still need an interesting rune to place upon these spells. For designs, I wanted to keep things simple with just a handful of lines and curves, something anyone could paint on these small tokens. I grab a white ink and hand paint a few symbols. From here we go to the airbrush and slowly add any fun translucent color in the center of the rune. Make sure the initial white ink has been covered, and then we can go back to the brush and paint on a thin line over our original rune shape. It'll give off a lovely glow, and if you feel like you went overboard, you can always go back through with a light dry brush of a cream color. And there you have it folks, a bunch of explosive runes. I definitely could see making interesting creations on sand or stone or any other terrain piece you could think of. Your creative options are truly endless. Fog. We need to create a 6 by 3 by 1 inch wall of sorts-ish. One that minis can pass through, but also be represented on the table as a functional piece of terrain. Unfortunately, there is no perfect solution to this creation, but the best I found was stuffed animal fluff. Also called fiberfill, this stuffing will do a better job than attempting to work with cotton balls or something similar. Though we first need a structure for the fog spell. I decided to cut out some white cardstock and have it be an inch or so smaller than the total size of the fog spell. This is where we will give some needed support for the terrain piece by hot gluing down a crap ton of metal BBs to give some weight to this fog cloud. I also could see old coins or washers doing a good job here. You just need something small and heavy enough to be disguised in the cardstock. With everything together, we can bring in some hot glue and lots of fluff. Make sure to cover the cardstock entirely and try to make sure it fits the general dimensions of the spell. This can be a little difficult, but by using some shears or maybe some scissors, it is a good way to trim the wool back on this spell. Another good idea is to snag a rattle can of some clear acrylic to seal in the fiber fill to give it some structure and support as well. At this point, your fog could be complete, but I just want to quickly stop in with the airbrush and give it a little bit of color. We just need a few inks here, a black, white, and any fun color of your choice. With the airbrush, we spray all over our puffball with a white ink. This is to make sure the cloud looks like a consistent white poof. And then with the black ink, I added a single drop to create an extremely light gray. This is mainly sprayed on the underside of the terrain piece, but you can spritz it on here and there to give the fog more dimension. And finally, take that fun color and give it some wizardly flair. I only gave each fog spell a taste of color from below and decided less was more in this situation. And there you have it, folks, the fog spell. An easy and fun build. I could definitely see making a few more of these just for some kicks and giggies, and I will definitely be using this one in some Frostgrave Season 3. Animate Skull. According to the spell, we essentially just need to make a miniature of a floating skull. Now, I don't have any flight stands, so let's do the next best thing, attach a GW skull to a bunch of rubble. And to make things easier on ourselves, we pretty much use all the materials that we used for the Explosive Rune spell. Of course, don't forget about the base and the skull. We take our time snapping a few coffee stir sticks, gluing down some foam bricks, and then taking out the super glue. We need the skull to set quickly, so we use some accelerator to give us a hand, and at this point the spell is built and it fits pretty well alongside these other miniatures. So let's jump on over to painting. If you watch how we painted the Explosive Rune spell, then this one should be, well, exactly the same. So to make things quick, because all of you were very busy right after this and are going to make some Frostgrave spell terrain for yourselves, grab all of your favorite bone paints. I start with a solid base layer of Jackbone from P3, then go for a nice brown wash, and finish it up with some Screaming Skull edge highlights. Neat. It looks like a skull, so let's give it some glowing eyes. Now, once again, very similar to the Explosive Rune paint job, we just grab a white ink and cover the eye sockets completely. We dip back over to the airbrush and grab a fun colored ink and give the eyes some subtle color, building it up slowly. Once you like it, dab a tiny bit of white ink back in where the pupil should be, and you have yourself an animated skull. This spell is absolutely fantastic, and giving it some extra flair to make sure the skull looks as if it is floating off the ground is a nice little touch. So there you have it, folks. We made some more Frostgrave spell effects. These are a few spells that I have been apprehensive about choosing in a game because I didn't have cool representation for it on the tabletop. But now I do, and it's awesome to see these effects blast into Frostgrave. Though there are a few spells on my list that I'm having a tough time coming up with interesting and creative builds, you know, like Crumble. So if you have some ideas for these mysterious incantations, let me know down in the comments, or share ones you have made on the Discord server. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and pop on over to the Patreon to help fund my goofy creations. Until next time, folks, I want to thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.